Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, translated with commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Adi Lila, Chapter 7. Lord Chaitanya in 5 features. Text 113. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is full of spiritual potencies. Therefore His body, name, fame, and entourage are all spiritual. The Mayavadi philosopher, due to ignorance, says that these are all merely transformations of the material mode of goodness. Purport. In the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the Supreme Personality of Godhead has clarified His energies in 2 distinct divisions, namely, Prakrita and Aprakrita, or Para Prakriti and Apara Prakriti. In the Vishnu Purana, the same distinction is made. The Mayavadi philosophers cannot understand these 2 prakritis or natures, material, spiritual, but one who is actually intelligent can understand them. Considering the many varieties and activities in material nature, why should the Mayavadi philosophers deny the spiritual varieties of the spiritual world? The Bhagavatam says, Yajñe ravindaksha vimukta maninas tvayasta bhavad avasuda buddhaya. Bhagavatam 10:2-32. The intelligence of those who think themselves liberated but have no information of the spiritual world is not yet clear. In this verse, the term avasuda buddhaya refers to unclean intelligence. Due to unclean intelligence, or a poor fund of knowledge, the Mayavadi philosophers cannot understand the distinction between material and spiritual varieties. Therefore, they cannot even think of spiritual varieties because they take it for granted that all variety is material. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore explains in this verse that Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or the Absolute Truth, has a spiritual body, which is distinct from material bodies, and thus His name, abode, entourage, and qualities are all spiritual. The material mode of goodness has nothing to do with spiritual varieties. Mayavadi philosophers, however, cannot clearly understand spiritual varieties. Therefore, they imagine a negation of the material world to be the spiritual world. The material qualities of goodness, passion, and ignorance cannot act in the spiritual world, which is therefore called nirguna, as clearly indicated in Bhagavad Gita. Trigunya visayaveda nistrigunya bhavarjuna. The material world is a manifestation of the 3 modes of material nature, but one has to become free from these modes to come to the spiritual world, where their influence is completely absent. Now, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will disassociate Lord Siva from Mayavad philosophy in the following verse. Text 114. Sankaracarya, who is an incarnation of Lord Siva, is faultless, because he is a servant carrying out the orders of the Lord. But those who follow his Mayavad philosophy are doomed. They will lose all their advancement in spiritual knowledge. Purport. Mayavadi philosophers are very proud of exhibiting their Vedanta knowledge through grammatical jugglery. But Lord Sri Krishna, Bhagavad Gita, certifies that they are Maya Parita Jnana, bereft of real knowledge due to Maya. Maya has two potencies with which to execute her two functions. Prakshapatmika Shakti, the power to throw the living entity in the ocean of material existence, and Avaranatmika Shakti, the power to cover the knowledge of the living entity. The function of the Avaranatmika Shakti is explained in Bhagavad Gita by the word Mayaya Parita Jnana. Why the Devi Maya, or illusory energy of Krishna, takes away the knowledge of the Mayavadi philosophers is also explained in Bhagavad Gita by the use of the words Asuram Bhavam Asrita, which refer to a person who does not agree to the existence of the Lord. The Mayavadis, who are not in agreement with the existence of the Lord, can be classified in two groups, exemplified by the impersonalist Shankarites of Varanasi and the Buddhists of Saranata. Both of them are Mayavadis, and Krishna takes away their knowledge due to their atheistic philosophies. Neither of them agree to accept the existence of a personal God. The Buddhist philosophers clearly deny both the soul and God, and although the Sankarites do not openly deny God, they say that the Absolute is Nirakara, or formless. Both of them are Avasuddha Buddhaya, or imperfect and unclean in their knowledge and intelligence. The most prominent Mayavad scholar, Sadananda Yogindra, has written a book called Vedanta Sar, in which he expounds the philosophy of Sankaracarya, and all the followers of Shankar's philosophy attribute great importance to his statements. In this Vedanta Sara, Sadananda Yogindra defines Brahman as Sat Chit Ananda, combined with knowledge and without duality. And he defines ignorance, Jad, as knowledge distinct from that of Sat and Asat. This is almost inconceivable, but it is a product of the three material qualities. Thus he considers anything other than pure knowledge to be material. The center of ignorance is considered to be sometimes all-pervading and sometimes individual. Thus, according to his opinion, both the all-pervading Vishnu and the individual living entities are products of ignorance. In simple language, it is the opinion of Sadananda Yogindra that since everything is Nirakara, formless, the conception of Vishnu and the conception of the individual soul are both products of ignorance. He also explains that the Visuddha-sattva conception of the Vaishnavas is nothing but pradhan, or the chief principle of creation. He maintains that when all-pervading knowledge is contaminated by the Visuddha-sattva, which consists of a transformation of the quality of goodness, there arises the conception of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the omnipotent, omniscient, Supreme Ruler, the Supersoul, cause of all causes, the Supreme Ishvara, etc. According to Sadananda Yogindra, because Ishvara, the Supreme Lord, is the reservoir of all ignorance, he may be called Sarvagya, or omniscient, but one who denies the existence of the omnipotent Supreme Personality of Godhead is more than Ishvara, or the Lord. His conclusion, therefore, is that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Ishvara, is a transformation of material ignorance, and that the living entity, Jiva, is covered by ignorance. Thus, he describes both collective and individual existence in darkness. According to Mayavadi philosophers, the Vaishnava conception of the Lord as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and of the Jiva, or individual soul, as his eternal servant, is a manifestation of ignorance. If we accept the judgment of Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, however, the Mayavadis are considered to be Maya Prita Jnana, or bereft of all knowledge, because they do not recognize the existence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or they claim that his existence is a product of the material conception, Maya. These are characteristics of asuras or demons. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in his discourses with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, said, there's a Bengali verse here from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya 6, 169. Vyasadeva composed the Vedanta Sutra to deliver the conditioned souls from this material world. But Sankaracarya, by presenting the Vedanta Sutra in his own way, has clearly done a great disservice to human society, for one who follows his Mayavadi philosophy is doomed. In the Vedanta Sutra, devotional service is clearly indicated, but the Mayavadi philosophers refuse to accept the spiritual body of the Supreme Absolute Person, and refuse to accept that the living entity has an individual existence separate from that of the Supreme Lord. Thus, they have created atheistic havoc all over the world, for such a conclusion is against the very nature of the transcendental process of pure devotional service. The Mayavadi philosophers' unrealizable ambition to become one with the Supreme through denying the existence of the personality of Godhead results in a most calamitous misrepresentation of spiritual knowledge, and one who follows this philosophy is doomed to remain perpetually in this material world. Therefore, they are called Avasuddha Buddhaya, or unclean in knowledge. Because they are unclean in knowledge, all their austerities and penances end in frustration. Thus, although they may be honored at first as very learned scholars, ultimately they descend to physical activities of politics, social work, etc. Instead of becoming one with the Supreme Lord, they again become one with these material activities. This is explained by Srimad Bhagavatam. Aruya krichena parampadam tata patyantyajo nadrita yusmad angraya. Bhagavatam 10:232. In actuality, the Mayavadi philosophers very strictly follow the austerities and penances of spiritual life, and in this way are elevated to the impersonal Brahman platform. But due to their negligence of the lotus feet of the Lord, they again fall down to material existence.